The firefighter tells the story of Chil Wong, a young man drifting through life with no clear direction. My 9 wives told me not to be afraid until fate suddenly throws him into a moment where he saves someone, and in that instant, everything changes. He discovers what he truly wants, to become a firefighter. From that day on, he dives headfirst into a world filled with action, danger, and raw courage. But being a firefighter in South Korea during the 2000s is anything but easy. The gear is outdated, support is scarce, and the risks are overwhelming. Still, Chil Wong refuses to back down. He trains relentlessly, pushes his limits, and keeps going until one major event threatens not only his future, but the very history of firefighting in the country. The story ignites with fire itself. A house is engulfed in flames. Sirens wail as firefighters arrive, making a dramatic entrance. Among them is a striking young man whose face, hidden under the mask, is tight with fear. Stepping into the inferno, wrapped in searing heat, he whispers prayers to God. First, he asks for the strength to save a life and the chance to be seen as a hero in a child's eyes. As he searches through the smoke, he prays the trembling old man is still alive. When he finally finds a body, his only wish is to carry out his duty with all his strength. Emerging from the blaze with a woman in his arms, he asks for one last thing, to protect everyone who's still out there. The flames fade, and the scene shifts. Soldiers now stand on the site. 2 of them sneak away from their posts while others stay. One grumbles about the endless missions and the suffocating heat. Lifting his helmet, he sighs that the job always feels this way. Looking at the soldier beside him, he jokes that he thought the man had already been discharged. The other shoots back a sarcastic reply, and his buddy laughs, saying it's too hot to get angry. He asks what the other plans to do after graduation, but Chil Wong admits he still has no clue. The military is a strange place. Men from all over, all chasing different dreams. Out in society, conversations often sound like everyone needs approval before they share their future plans. One soldier talks about becoming a physical therapist, another dreams of being a pro kendo fighter. Chil realizes how many paths exist, jobs he'd never even heard of. And yet, even with so many options, he feels completely lost. Slowly, anxiety creeps into him. Then, the soldier across from him declares he's going to be a firefighter. They discuss how brutal the profession is, but there's something about young Tot that makes it sound noble, even inspiring. Hong Wong met him back at the base. Young Tot was hopeless at soccer, but his constant smile made him unforgettable. That simple optimism was something Chil admired. Night falls. Young Tot and another man carry supplies to keep the fire going. One asks him why he'd ever want to face flames that could kill him. Wouldn't he be terrified to charge into a burning building? Young Tot laughs at the thought, admitting it is terrifying. But reflecting, he recalls how he'd always been stronger than most kids at school, his power sometimes frightening them. He once nearly put a classmate in real danger. That memory haunted him, but it also made him wonder, could he use that strength for good? He remembers saving a worker from what could have been a fatal accident with a freezer. That was the first time he felt he had a mission, a calling. Even fire, he realized, can be both destructive and useful. With some light-hearted teasing and laughter, the two head back, leaving the fire crackling behind them. A new day arrives, the day young Tot finally leaves the military. He walks out with swagger, determined to step into society and honor his dream of becoming a firefighter. 2 years pass quickly. We find ourselves in a sweltering warehouse. Men labor along a conveyor belt, while an elderly supervisor calls out for Chil Wong's help. Finishing his service, Chil enrolled in college and is now close to graduation. To make ends meet, he works part-time, quietly earning the respect of coworkers who see his discipline and effort. As he chats with his boss, a man with a rounded belly and kind eyes, they hear a heavy crash. Chil turns to see Kita collapsed on the ground, his face twisted in pain. Rushing to his side, Chill realizes something deep inside him has been triggered, something long forgotten. Elsewhere, training is underway. A mannequin takes a slap across the face as trainees joke around. Someone scoffs that nobody takes the drills seriously, but the instructor insists when the real emergency comes, the difference between life and death is whether you took this seriously. One soldier listens with complete focus, then asks Tao Wang if these skills will ever matter. Tao admits he can't say for sure, but if the time comes, they could save a life. Back at the warehouse, the scene grows tense. Workers freeze, unsure what to do as the chubby man struggles for air. Hai Wang takes charge. "Call an ambulance," he orders, dropping to the floor. His training kicks in, his hands moving with urgency. The man's face is turning purple, time slipping away. Exhaustion digs into Chill's arms, sweat dripping, but he refuses to let go of that life. Finally, the emergency team arrives, gently pulling him back. They thank him for his effort as they lift the man onto a stretcher. Breathing hard, Chill watches his boss being taken away, relief and fear mixing inside him. At the hospital, a half-bald man assures him the patient will be fine. He praises Chill's quick action, then slides an envelope across the table in gratitude. But the real gift isn't money. In saving Mr. Kita, Chill Wang had saved himself too. Later, as he returns to his small studio, his thoughts drift back to his old friend, Young Ta. Suddenly, an excited voice shouts his name. A massive pair of arms scoops him up, nearly cracking a rib. From the bear hug, Chill laughs, realizing his friend's strength hasn't changed a bit. Young T beams with the same easy smile. Minutes later, meat sizzles on the grill as they sit in a bustling restaurant. Despite the years apart, it feels like nothing has changed. Young Tai-han kept his promise. He's now a firefighter. Between bites, Chill asks if the job is as manageable as it seems. Young T chuckles with his mouth full, saying kids cheer whenever he arrives. A small smile crosses his lips before he admits something heavier. It's far scarier than he ever imagined. Chill freezes, caught off guard. His friend explains that the fear never goes away. Walking into flames is always terrifying. But courage, he says, is moving forward anyway. Chill listens closely, each word carving itself into him. Later, when they part ways, Young T has filled with pride, knowing his old friend is now set on the same path. The sun rises on a new day, and Shil Wang is already up, studying hard. Soon he's out running, determined to speak with Mr. Ka about his future. Something inside him has awakened, an unshakable drive that guides him forward. At the pull-up bar, he pushes his body until it burns, chasing that feeling. When he told his parents about becoming a firefighter, they were stunned, almost as if they'd seen a ghost. For the first time, he was choosing something for himself, outside the plans they had always laid for him. Though frightened by the danger, they eventually supported his choice. And now, under the guidance of his friend, he begins training, not in an academy, but in the fires of life itself. Time rushes by, and his friend isn't cutting him any slack. The training is relentless, but for the first time in his life, Chil Wang feels like he's walking down the right path, a path that finally feels like it belongs to him. At last, the big day arrives. Shil sits with his parents in front of the computer. His mother's hands tremble as she whispers prayers under her breath, while his father silently leans forward, desperate just to see the result. The screen loads, the tension unbearable. Then the word appears. Accepted! The room erupts. They shout with joy, laughing and crying at the same time as they wrap him in hugs. For the first time in years, Chil Wang feels genuine, unshakable happiness. Cut to the fire station. Yang Ti leans against the wall, phone pressed to his ear. His face lights up as he congratulates his friend, promising he'll soon receive an official call. He quickly runs through what will happen next, then hangs up with a wide grin. His joy is sincere. Seeing his friend stepping into this new world fills him with pride. Another firefighter overhears and asks if that was the recruit Yang Ti had been mentoring. Yang laughs, explaining how fast Chill passed, though he wonders if the newcomer can hold his own at this station. After all, there's already a living legend here, a man ranked first in rescues for 3 straight years. The older firefighter cracks a sly joke, making the younger one laugh out loud. Then he adds, "Tell me when Xiao Wang shows up. I'll try to bring him onto our team." Yang feigns surprise, as though he hadn't been hinting at that for months, and promises that once his friend arrives, he'll personally take him under his wing. The scene shifts. Chill Wang stands frozen before the gates of the firefighter training center, his stomach a knot of nerves and anticipation. He breathes deep, summoning courage, and steps inside. Soon he's in full gear, shouting at the top of his lungs why he chose this path. The old instructor, clearly half mad, roars at him to scream even louder. Around him, classmates look nothing short of bizarre. Faces hard as stone, bodies like monsters, each of them unique and intimidating. From that moment on, Ji Wang throws himself into the grind, devouring every lesson, no matter how brutal. He's dragged out of bed at sunrise, his body aching, but he never quits. Days blur together until the morning comes when they strap into harnesses for rope training. The instructor explains the scenarios: high-rise rescues, stealth entries, desperate situations where there's no other way in. Ji Wang listens, absorbing it all. A jump cut to a tense rescue unfolding. A distraught man paces on a balcony, screaming through tears that his wife betrayed him, declaring he'll leave this world. A firefighter calls out through a megaphone, trying to calm him, while high above, young Tai crouches on a rope line, water bottle in hand, ready to drop. His teammates whisper about the man's broken home, about his plan to torch the apartment before ending it all. The order is given. Young pushes off, descending fast. Back at the academy, Chiao Wang's knees tremble as he grips his rope, clinging to every word the instructor says like it's gospel. Then we return to the rescue. Young dives, rope whipping, his team bracing with white knuckles. The distraught man stares in shock as Young swings in, wrapping his legs around him to stop any sudden leap. With a grin, Young shouts an apology, as if he's the one interrupting. The man sputters, startled but alive. Cut back to Chiao Wang. He lands his rope test, boots hitting the ground with a thud. His classmates erupt in applause, and his superior offers a rare, genuine compliment. After stripping off the gear, he quietly returns to his spot, still trembling with adrenaline. Then the instructor calls his name. Chiao Wang has shown the qualities of a rescue specialist. We cut again, doors bursting open, firefighters storming into the apartment. The suicidal man screams as Yang Ti keeps talking to him, trying to buy time. The federal police finally step in, restraining the man and muttering about the mess he caused. But as the team scans the room, a sharp smell hits them: gasoline. He had left a stove running, planning to burn it all down. Quick action prevents disaster. The firefighters sigh with relief, one of them swearing he'll do anything to stop fires before they start. His leader smirks, calling him soft-hearted, but assures him that with this crew, such tragedies won't happen. Back at the academy, the trials grow harsher. Xiao Wang staggers under the crushing weight of a 20-kilogram pack, the straps digging into his shoulders. The uphill march feels endless, the air suffocating. Around him, trainees stumble and falter. He spots a girl slowing down, almost collapsing, and rushes to help. But she snaps back with icy anger, brushing him off. Confused, he retreats, focusing on his own climb. At the top, the instructor arrives, reminding them that Korea's mountains make this training vital. Shiel, still gasping, asks why they must suffer like this if roads exist. The instructor meets his eyes and explains, when disaster strikes, roads can vanish. The fastest way is often on foot, with everything they need strapped to their backs. The answer sinks deep. The next drill simulates a real blaze. Flames consume a house as the team rushes in, oxygen tanks strapped on tight. One firefighter clears a path, another drags a man to safety while forcing oxygen into his lungs. Reports confirm he's alive. Yang Ti asks if they should pull the rescue crew out, but the leader shakes his head. The fire hasn't peaked. Timing is everything. They push deeper, spraying water, containing the inferno. At the academy, Shield learns this same lesson. A fighter must be ready to wear every hat, to step into any role when the emergency demands it. Knowledge of every tool and every skill is the only way to keep people safe. Later, Gi Wong collapses on the ground, muscles screaming, recalling Young Tai's words and his superior's lessons. Around him, classmates strip down, their physiques chiseled from relentless training. With stiff formality, he asks them why they joined the rescue unit. Their answers are blunt. Because it's the best part of the job. Because not everyone can handle it. The words strike him. Gil Wong is taken aback when one mentions special forces. How dangerous it is. How many don't make it back. Another explains the process. Passing public exams, proving yourself step by step, always under the eye of a leader. For the first time, Chil feels a flicker of hope. Maybe this dream isn't impossible. That night, he calls his old friend. Young Tai answers, already one step ahead. He's spoken to the leader about putting them on the same team. Shocked, Chil explodes. I don't even know if I belong there, he shouts. But Young's voice stays calm, steady. He reminds him of the natural talent he's always had, promising he'll stand beside him no matter what. Chio listens, pale as a ghost, his heart racing. The call ends and Chil Wong just sits there, stunned. The words keep echoing in his head. He's actually going to be on the rescue team? The thought is almost too big to process, leaving him dazed by the weight of such a change. The scene shifts back to the academy. It's another day at the gym. Time to push some iron again. Shil Wong's focus is razor sharp, every rep fueled by determination to grow stronger. He glances at his fellow trainees, using their grit as motivation, and soon even they notice how much harder he's pushing himself. The training steadies his restless mind, until suddenly his eyes land on her. The same woman from the other day, the one who had coldly rejected his offer of help. She's hammering through an arm workout, fierce and relentless. Shil stares a second too long. She catches him and snaps, asking if he's looking to fly to the skies. Embarrassed, he shakes his head so fast it looks comical. The guys nearby chuckle nervously and warn him not to mess with her if he wants to survive the academy. That's Ji-hee, a former nurse turned firefighter, famous not only for her skill, but also for her explosive temper. Hai Wong swallows hard, silently praying he'll never have to cross paths with her again. The next morning, her voice rings through the halls before he even sees her. Ji-hee is already in another screaming match, this time with a fellow female firefighter. She doesn't hold back. Her words cut sharp, and she refuses to show kindness for even a second. A colleague urges her to calm down, which only makes her angrier. In a flash, she hurls a helmet across the floor, her shouting climbing even higher. The outburst earns her a sharp scolding, but she doesn't care. She demands to be reassigned, insisting she'd rather train with men. The request leaves the leader speechless, and somewhere behind him, Chil Wong tightens with dread. To his horror, the next drill pairs them side by side. His hands shake around the hose as Ji-hee barks at him to keep steady. With sharp authority, she orders the water jet open, gripping the thrashing line with another firefighter as they hammer the flames. Among the few women in the academy, Ji-hee stands out, not for compassion, but for her sheer fury and drive. Chio remembers his gut reaction when he first heard he'd be stuck working with her. The other women were afraid of her, and yet somehow they chose him. The instructor explains that they had already shown good teamwork before, and he wants to see it again. Even he looks like he'd rather not cross her, but orders are orders. Time passes, and smoke training begins. The fire simulation is thick and blinding, so real it chills Chil Wong's nerves. Together, as the instructor demands, they push through the drill. He tells himself he's only enduring it because of the certification on the line, but watching her tremble beside him, he realizes Ji-hee is human too, scared, though she hides it. Training after training, the tests grow harsher. Dragging victims becomes their next challenge. Ji-hee grips the 70-kilo dummy, muscles straining as she hauls it across the floor, only to collapse hard to the ground afterward. Breathing ragged, she watches others pass by. Then Chil appears at her side. He gently warns her not to let anxiety burn her out, but her glare flares like fire, convinced he's doubting her ability. Backpedaling fast, he explains the proper way to carry a body, then orders her back on the dummy. She obeys, though her pride smolders. While classmates gossip in the background, their dislike of her clear. At first, he trains with her only because the instructor insists, but little by little, he notices how fiercely she throws herself into every drill. Time skips forward. One evening at the academy, he offers her a coffee. She complains it's hot instead of iced, but still drinks it. On their way out, he tries small talk, nudging her about her constant rudeness. Maybe she could try being a little kinder? He even asks if she gets along with anyone in her department. Her patience snaps. She swings a playful kick at him, which he narrowly dodges. Climbing the stairs, he tells her she should take the night off, and mentions that after tomorrow, they won't be training together anymore. They've spent 2 months side by side. She suddenly stops, calling his name. With a surprising vulnerability, she admits the truth. Her anger is a mask. When nerves creep in, she lashes out to cover it because she doesn't want to be underestimated. Almost anything can set her off, but it's all just a shield. Chio listens quietly. His first response? He teases that she's like a chihuahua. Ji-hee shoots back, inviting him to revisit heaven, but then softens, revealing that, around him, her nerves vanish. She'd actually like him as a permanent partner. With a rare smile, she thanks him for putting up with her. He grins back and clasps her hand. The next morning brings the professional physical capacity test. The instructor cheers them on as they grind through every brutal challenge. By the end, Xiao Wang is drenched in sweat, barely able to stand as he rings the bell to finish. His classmates cheer, but he collapses flat to the ground, lungs burning. As they walk off, one guy jokes that at least they won't have to deal with the angry blonde anymore. Graduation creeps closer, and Xiao Wang pushes himself harder than ever. Then comes the announcement. Ji-hee has just broken a new record. She beams, fists pumping in the air, while her classmates celebrate with her. Soon, graduation day arrives. The director's speech is filled with pride, his words thundering through the hall. When he finishes, hats soar skyward and cheers shake the air. Amid the chaos, Xiao Wang and Ji-hee find each other. She tells him to reach out if he ever remembers their partnership, and he urges her to keep giving her best at her department. For once, she laughs, light and genuine. A few guys nearby nudge each other, smirking. For the first time, Ji-hee lets her guard down. Now officially graduated, Xiao Wang stands before the fire station, a full-fledged firefighter at last. He introduces himself with stiff formality, only to be told it isn't necessary. He's pointed toward his quarters, but when he arrives, his face twists in disbelief. The place is a wreck, clothes everywhere, grime covering the floor. It's filthier than the academy ever was. His heart sinks at the thought of living there. Meanwhile, inside the fire truck, young T hums a cheerful tune, grinning ear to ear. His partner teases him, asking if he's got a date lined up, but the truth is simpler. His old friend is joining the team. Young T's excitement is impossible to hide. One firefighter laughs that at least he won't be the youngest anymore, a role he's long despised. Everyone is curious to meet the newcomer. Before they can even finish opening the door, Xiao Wang bursts in, loudly announcing himself to the room. The volume rattles some nerves, but Yang Ti beams with pride, rushing forward to shake him so hard the rookie nearly falls over. Dizzy, Jill Wong steadies himself while a colleague jokes about Yong's darker complexion. Another remarks that since they served in the army together, that's the real reason he vouched to bring him here. The leader quickly lays the pressure on the rookie, warning him this station demands the best. Young T steps in, promising he'll whip his friend into shape or beat him into it if he has to. A few firefighters raise their brows in surprise, watching the bond between them. One guy groans about all the unnecessary saluting and noise. Chil stiffens, anxious, but Yang claps him on the back, reassuring him. Plans are already forming for a welcome celebration when the piercing alarm erupts, an emergency call. Complaints ripple through the crew as they rush to gear up. Orders bark out, the trucks roll. And Shil Wong, still the wide-eyed rookie, watches it all unfold, stepping into the firehouse life for real. He reminds him that he has to head out too. After all, he's officially part of the firefighter rescue team now. They pull up to the scene, where the leader immediately takes control, barking out commands. Chil Wong is firmly ordered not to act on his own and to follow instructions to the letter. Behind him, Hail Jong mutters with clear disdain. He doesn't like that Chil only made it in thanks to his connection with Yong Ta. With a cold, almost sinister blare, he warns that he'll be watching him closely. The words cut deep, leaving Chil shaken to his core, intimidation washing over him. In front of them, the crisis unfolds. A little girl is tangled in the staircase railing, sobbing and screaming in panic. The firefighters rush in, trying to calm her and searching for her parents. Hai Wang freezes. This was never covered in training back at the academy. Sensing his confusion, Yang Tan smirks, teasing him because he knows they weren't taught this there. With a confident grin, he tells his friend to watch carefully. This is how the veterans handle it. One firefighter kneels beside the child, speaking softly to soothe her fear. The leader quickly calls out the tool they'll need to free her. The cutter sparks to life, biting into the railing. The girl flinches at the noise, but Hail John keeps his voice gentle, reassuring her, so different from the sharp tone he used with the rookie. Another firefighter ushers a couple back to keep the scene clear. Watching it all, Hai Wang is struck with awe at their calm professionalism. Seeing everyone pitch in fills him with motivation. Just then, a taxi pulls up outside the fire station, dropping off a new arrival. Ji-hee steps out, ready to begin her journey, completely unaware of what fate has in store. Back at the scene, the metal finally gives way, and the girl is freed. Someone calls her name, and she bolts into the arms of her terrified father. He holds her tight as the firefighter explains she wasn't hurt. Relieved, the man thanks them with heartfelt gratitude, comforting his daughter until her trembling fades. Chil Wong smiles, glad it ended well, until a furious voice erupts from the staircase. A man storms down, screaming dramatically that they've destroyed the railing. He rants about needing to rent the place and demands to know who will pay for the damage. Calmly, the leader orders the team to fall back. He'll deal with the angry landlord himself. Curious but uneasy, Ji Wong watches. Then comes the shock. The leader bows deeply to the man. Startled, Chil asks why, but Young Tae quickly hushes him. If he speaks up, he might make things worse. The reality sinks in. Firefighters may be heroes who risk their lives, but even they aren't free from complaints. Back in the truck, the leader offers congratulations, but the team stays silent. The mood is heavy. These men and women know their jobs come with constant scrutiny, every mistake magnified. Next to him, a colleague nudges Chil Wong, asking if he paid attention. Chil Wong reflects on what he witnessed: teamwork, trust, and how every firefighter leaned on the other. He admits he learned something valuable, but just as the moment grows hopeful, the ever-grumpy Ho Jong ruins it, sneering that Chil still has to prove himself before earning their trust. The rookie, with no chance yet to show his worth, can only nod quietly.
Hyo-jung starts talking about mental training, but his lecture is cut short when the others, dressed in their bright orange suits that make them look like carrots, burst into laughter, mocking him. They tell him to ease up on the rookie, not to be so harsh just because he's new. When they finally roll back into the station, Hee-wong flushes as Young T comes over. The dark-haired veteran admits his sharp colleague has always been that way, but reassures him with steady support. Still, he reminds Chil that no one can teach him everything. He'll have to grow on his own, too. Watching Young Ta's confidence in Hyo-jung, Chil wonders
how strong that trust really runs. Moments later, So-hee from the rescue team approaches the leader, joking about the rough call. She's here to introduce a new member, and to Chil-wong's shock, it's none other than Ji-hee. Both of them freeze in surprise. The leader notices their reaction and assumes they were academy classmates, remarking how good it will be for them to have each other around. Hai-wong forces a smile, telling Ji-hee it's good to see her again, and that apparently they'll be crossing paths more often than expected. The reunion is short-lived, but for Chil, it feels like a stroke of luck. Not just Young-T, but now Ji-hee by his side too. Night falls, and Chil gets his first taste of station life. It's nothing like he imagined. Their schedule is grueling, 24 hours on, followed by 24 off. To him, staying up all night every other day seems unbearable. A colleague relieves him, letting him grab some sleep, and he collapses from 10 p.m. until 5 a.m. When he wakes, the dark circles under his eyes make him look like a panda. They say it's rare to get through a night without calls, and sure enough, the alarms keep coming. One case is downright absurd. A drunken man claims a woman set his heart on fire. The firefighters can't believe it, half mocking the lovesick fool. Chil-wong quickly learns most calls aren't what he pictured. Searching sewers for lost items, chasing prank calls that waste their time. The endless interruptions wear him down, leaving him half crazed from exhaustion. One dawn, slumped and waiting for his shift to end, he suddenly notices Ji-hee beside him, sipping a drink. He didn't even see her arrive. He asks about her first shift. She admits the weight is hitting her, already feeling overwhelmed. With a shadowed look, she asks if this is the life he imagined. For a moment, he can't answer. Honestly, it isn't. But then he remembers the little girl they saved, and a smile tugs at his lips. That's why he's here, helping people, one life at a time. Ji-hee studies him for a beat, then nods softly, saying it's good to hear. Later, the aroma of grilled meat drifts through the station. Ji-wong and Ji-hee sit side by side with the team, celebrating their first 24-hour shift. She hesitates, wondering if a soup restaurant is really the right place to celebrate. When Gil-wong is called on, he listens intently as the leader reminds him how tough beginnings are, but assures him that with support, it gets easier. He tells him to eat well and keep giving his best. Encouraged, Hee-wong feels his spirits rise. The blonde stiffens when someone announces the next stop, karaoke. Right after their first shift, they'll be welcoming the new day with singing. Everyone is buzzing with excitement. Even though it's only been one day, Chiel realizes this job is going to be anything but easy. His heart jumps when the microphone lands in his hands. Nervous, embarrassed, but unwilling to back down, he steps forward. The music starts, and to everyone's surprise, he sings with real skill. Teammates glance at each other, impressed. Even Zoe from the rescue team admits he's good, asking Ji-hai if she already knew. But Ji-hai doesn't answer. She's staring, captivated, while Chi-wong sings, his lips curving into a subtle smile at her reaction. Another day brings a quieter moment. At an apartment, Young-tae greets his elderly mother with warmth, Chiel-wong trailing just behind. She welcomes her son's friend, offering the guest room. For a while, Chiel stays at Young-tae's house, leaning on his support. But with his next shift about to begin, he's eager to start pulling his own weight. On duty, Young-tae patiently teaches him how to categorize different fire types. The day feels oddly quiet without any calls, so Chiel, still green, asks if that's normal. Without thinking, Young-tae claps a hand over his mouth, eyes wide.
Hil Wang blinks in confusion, no idea what mistake he just made.
Young Ta explains that whenever things get too quiet, even talking about it seems to jinx them. Calls come pouring in like magic. Ji Wang takes that to heart, deciding he'd better be more cautious with his words from now on. Sure enough, the calm doesn't last. An emergency call comes in, and the firefighters spring into action. The leader briefs them. There's been a car accident, and an ambulance is already on its way. Hai Wang fastens his helmet, just about ready to go, when he's pulled aside. The leader warns him again. Don't act on his own, follow orders only. The accident turns out to be serious. A car has flipped, and another team of firefighters is already on scene. One of them leans through the shattered window to speak to the driver trapped inside. She calls over Ji Hai, asking her to grab a turtleneck brace for the man's neck. When she turns back, her eyes widen. The rescue team is arriving, like a movie scene playing in slow motion. The leader quickly assesses the situation. The door won't budge. He signals Yang Ta, who fires up a hydraulic tool and forces it open. Chil Wang can't look away. Watching his brother-in-arms work fills him with admiration. Every movement, every command sticks in his mind. The firefighters move fast, easing the driver out of the wreck. The leader orders Hyo Jong and Yang Ta to get the man secured on a stretcher and taken to Soy. Then comes trouble. A blonde civilian, cold and arrogant, starts complaining about how long the rescue took. A firefighter tries to reason with him, but the man just keeps sneering. Chil Wang takes in the whole scene, the civilian yelling, Yang Tao handling the situation, the leader standing steady near the truck. He hesitates for a moment, then decides to help Hyo Jong lift the victim. Dropping to one knee, he grips the man's feet. Hyo Jong calls out sharply, but it's too late. Chil Wang freezes in place, horror flashing across his face. He's made a serious mistake. The ambulance pulls in, and the victim is safely loaded onto the stretcher, whisked away. Ji Wang stands rooted, watching silently, dread gnawing at him. Off to the side, So he mutters to Ji Hai that the rookie might be in hot water. Out of the corner of his eye, Chiel sees Hyo Jong tear off his helmet. His expression makes it clear he's furious. Back at the base, Ho Jong doesn't hold back. He corners Chia Wang and tears into him, scolding him for acting alone. The rookie bows his head, apologizing over and over. Two colleagues linger in the hallway, watching like old ladies gossiping over a fence. For a moment, Chiel is shocked when Hyo Jong says mistakes happen to everyone. But then his voice hardens. He explains the true mission of a firefighter. No matter the situation, you can never let panic show, because the person you're rescuing is counting on you. He presses Xiao Wang to imagine being the victim, trapped, terrified, and the firefighter who shows up is just as rattled. What hope would that bring? The lecture cuts deep. Later, Ji-hai offers Chiel a soda, but he looks like he'd rather melt into the wall. She'd heard every word. Finally, he takes the can and vents, frustration written all over him. He admits how badly he let himself down. She reminds him bluntly, no one starts out perfect. The job is about learning, about making mistakes and growing stronger. Then she asks if he's ever imagined being the one trapped in a fire, waiting for rescue, only to see his savior panicking too. The thought hits him hard, making him feel even shakier. Ji-hai notices how much Ho Jong's words shook him. That's when Yang Ti shows up, lightening the mood with a joke about the scolding. He laughs, saying Ho Jong always uses that scare tactic, and later, it's almost funny. With a pat on the head and a few reassuring words, he gives his friend the support he needs. Then Yang Ti grins, announcing he's got the perfect idea to help him relax. Jia Wang perks up, clueless about what's coming. A timer clicks. Next thing he knows, the poor guy is hauling himself up a towering wall with only a rope. Below, his teammates cheer him on. Hai Wang struggles, sweat dripping, determined to reach the top. Young T glances at Jihi, asking if she's going to join. She coolly replies there's no need. From a nearby window, the leader watches, smiling at how Young T looks out for Chil.
Meanwhile, the ever-grumpy Hyo-John is more interested in updates on the accident victim. He says the man was lucky. His leg may be broken, but he'll recover. The captain admits he nearly had to apologize on behalf of Cheel's mistake, but the victim held no grudge. In fact, the older man liked the rookie. Curious, he asks Hyo-Jong what he really thinks now. After studying Cheel carefully, Hyo-Jong finally admits it. Maybe the kid has potential. The leader's proud smile says it all. One step at a time, just like climbing a staircase, Cheel Wong is slowly becoming a real firefighter. A new day dawns at another apartment. Sunlight filters in, spreading across the room. On the table sits a child's drawing. An alarm clock buzzes. It's still early. With a heavy yawn, a man drags himself up. As he pulls on his pants, burn scars are visible across his skin. Marks of a firefighter's life. Ready for the day, he kisses his little boy on the head. Then his wife, who lingers, wanting a bit more tenderness. She urges him to be safe, to avoid danger if he can. At the door, he promises he'll come home. At the base, the locker room hums with chatter as firefighters change into uniform. Scars tell their stories. Nearly everyone bears some reminder of the flames. The leader's gaze falls on the man beside him, noticing his back is flawless, untouched, smooth as polished stone. Cheel Wong feels the stare and asks if everything's okay. The dark-haired veteran brushes it off with a grin, saying it's nothing. Suddenly, the alarm blares. Desks are empty, papers scatter as pins roll to the floor. Everyone sprints full speed to the trucks. The leader calls out for the rookie to be guided step by step. The sirens wail as the truck tears down the road. This time, it's real, a fire raging on the third floor of a house. Chil Wong's heart pounds. Training is over. This is the real thing. Young Tae rests a steady hand on his shoulder, asking if he's nervous. With a calm smile, he reassures him. Chil nods, still shaken inside. They arrive near the fire, but the street is jammed with cars. The truck can't fit through. The leader curses. Same problem every time. The firefighters leap out, racing on foot toward the blaze. Someone yells to find a way to clear the cars, but there's no time. They rig hoses directly from the truck, linking them together until they're long enough to reach. Smoke billows from the windows, thick and choking. Nothing can be seen inside, only swirling gray. The fire is still young, just minutes before it explodes into something worse. "Masks on," the leader shouts. The rescue team is going in. One firefighter is sent to evacuate any remaining residents. The rest charge up the stairwell, voices echoing through the halls. "Fire rescue team! Anyone inside?" Gil Wong halts at the burning apartment door. Smoke pours through every crack, thickening the air around him. Nothing can be seen inside, only swirling gray. The fire is still young, just minutes before it explodes into something worse. "Masks on," the leader shouts. The rescue team is going in. One firefighter is sent to evacuate any remaining residents. The rest charge up the stairwell, voices echoing through the halls. "Fire rescue team! Anyone inside?" Gil Wong halts at the burning apartment door. Smoke pours through every crack, thickening the air around him. Luckily for them, the door isn't burning hot yet, which means they still have a chance to force it open. Young Tae is already pulling out his trusted weapon, the heavy iron crowbar. Bracing himself, he grips it tight, summoning every ounce of strength. With one powerful strike, he slams the tool into the door. The impact rattles the frame, creating a crack wide enough to glimpse inside. With another fierce blow, the door bursts open at last, giving the team their way in. Gil Wong can't hide his admiration. To him, Yang Tae looks nothing short of incredible. Outside, a little farther down the street, Ji-hee keeps her eyes locked on the building.
Dark, dense, charcoal-colored smoke billows from the windows, rising into the sky. It's her very first emergency call as a firefighter, and she can't look away. The medic standing at her side explains calmly that most people don't die from fire, but from the smoke that fills their lungs. As paramedics, their duty is to help the ones poisoned by toxic gas, but they can only do that once the rescue team drags the victims out. The thought makes Ji-hee tense. Right now, somewhere in that suffocating cloud, Chil Wong is inside. Back in the building, the firefighters are lined up at the apartment entrance. They push forward, swallowed by smoke so thick they can't see a thing. Suddenly, Chil Wong feels a tap against his helmet. Yai tells him not to panic, to keep a steady hand on his shoulder so he won't get lost in the haze. A noise rattles through the darkness, and instantly everyone goes on alert. They shout into the void, asking if anyone's there, but no reply comes back. From outside, the house looks modest, even small. Yet inside, the smoke makes the space stretch endlessly, claustrophobic and strange. Chil Wong wonders if anyone could really still be in there at all. Then he freezes. An unbearable wave of heat washes over him, so close it feels like fire is licking at his face. His stomach knots. He's never felt anything like it. Turns to young Tai, who clearly feels it too. Together, their eyes lock on the glowing yellow shimmer up ahead. That's it. The source of the fire, the heat, and all the choking smoke. Young Tai shouts immediately, his voice cutting through the roar, alerting the captain. The fire's origin is in the kitchen. Outside, the team waits nervously for updates until word reaches them. The order is given, get out fast, time is running out. Young Tai doesn't hesitate. He swings his crowbar against the nearest window. The glass explodes with a piercing crack, raining shards into the street below. The smoke begins to funnel out, visibility improving slightly. Hai Wang blurts that they should put the fire out, but young Tai cuts him off. Without the right equipment, trying to fight it now will only make the smoke worse. Just then, Jin Sia, the leader, discovers a closed door deeper inside. He forces it open, revealing two terrified children huddled together, an older girl clutching a small boy. In Chil Wong's mind, a memory flashes, Fire Academy training. The instructor lecturing about how fire behaves. Flames aren't the only threat. The heat, the smoke, the very furniture becomes fuel. As heat rises, objects around it warm until they suddenly ignite, feeding the blaze. 5 minutes, that's all it takes before a fire surges out of control. The lesson made his stomach drop back then, and it chills him even more now. A ceiling layer of hot gas is building above their heads. H. Wang's heart lurches as the leader emerges, carrying a boy in his arms, while another firefighter follows with the girl. Both children are rushed downstairs. Outside at the ambulance, the kids are alive but shaken. Jin Up pulls off his helmet, drenched in sweat, exhaustion etched on his face. He asks a teammate if they've managed to get water to the scene yet. But with no hydrant close and hoses still being set up, the answer is no. Frustration boils in his voice. It's torture watching the flames burn unchecked. The leader stays steady, reminding them that saving lives comes first. Suhei tends to the children. The little girl coughs hard, removing the breathing mask, and manages to whisper about her grandmother. She hasn't seen her. Both firefighters freeze, stunned by the revelation. The girl keeps coughing, eyes wide with fear. Back at the house, the fire suddenly roars, erupting like an explosion. Flames leap higher, devouring the room. Good thing the team had already pulled out. Any slower, and they'd be trapped. A firefighter curses, regretting they hadn't moved the trucks closer from the start. At last, Jin Seop straps on his gear again, ready to head back in. His teammate shouts at him, asking what the hell he's doing now that the truck finally arrived. Jin replies firmly,
The grandmother might still be inside. Without another word, he heads straight for the flames. Even when someone yells for him to stop, he doesn't break stride. Jinup disappears back into the burning house. Xiao Wang calls after him, horrified. It's a moment he knows he'll never forget. Because of a child's uncertain words that may not even be true, he's watching his leader run headlong into fire without a flicker of hesitation. At last, water floods through the hoses, and the team unleashes it against the blaze. Everyone waits, hearts racing, praying their captain makes it out alive. After what feels like forever, Jin Seop stumbles back into view. He's empty-handed, drenched in sweat, but grinning. There was no one left inside. Relief crashes over the team. Someone immediately starts scolding him. If his sister-in-law hears about this stunt, he's going to be the one in trouble. The others laugh, teasing that he deserves it. Jin only smirks, muttering that it'll be fine as long as nobody tells her. A little ways off, Chiel Wang turns to Jihai, asking if she saw how fearless their leader was, charging back into the house for the grandmother without hesitation. She wonders aloud if he'll ever be that brave. Jihee looks at him thoughtfully, then nods with certainty. She says he absolutely can. His eyes widen at her confidence until she adds, cheeks puffed like a child's pout, that she'd actually rather he didn't become that reckless. For the first time, the little blonde turns shy, and he's left making a weird, hard-to-describe face. When the fire is finally out and they climb back into the truck, Hai Wang slumps next to Yong-ta. Both look completely drained. Hai Wang mentions the gear felt strange, different from the suits back at the academy. The heat cut right through this one. Yong-ta explains bluntly that this equipment is cheaper, lower grade. The truth rattles Chiel Wang. Every time they ask for upgrades, they're told there's no budget. Yong-ta still clings to hope that someday things will improve. A few seats ahead, the leader sits quietly, sweat still pouring from when he went back inside. Later in the locker room, they're peeling off gear again. Chiel Wang pulls back his shirt, revealing an ugly burn across his shoulder. It's angry red, raw. A teammate gasps, rushing to grab some ointment, but another firefighter beats him to it, offering his own cream. Then even Hai Yan steps forward with a jar. Soon half the room is crowded around, everyone producing little tubs of ointments in different colors like a strange competition. Chiel laughs nervously until the leader arrives, shaking his head with a smile. He orders them to stop fussing and just hand over one. Taking a bit on his fingertips, the captain applies it carefully to Chiel's burn himself, hoping it won't scar. With a smile, he thanks Chiel Wang for showing such bravery on his first emergency call. Giving him a light tap on the back of his neck, he tells the young man to relax a little. The leader wishes everyone a good end to their day. As the station shifts from day to night, the crew knows that after this shift, they'll be heading home as the morning light breaks. The scene then shifts to Jin Sup's family apartment the next day. It's about 7 a.m. according to the alarm clock. His beautiful wife is waking up, letting the sunlight pour in before preparing something to satisfy her hunger. She then heads back to the mattress to wake their little one still fast asleep. Their son stirs, but only because he knows it's time to see his dad come home. Like magic, Jin Sup appears at the door, grinning, full of that irresistible cuteness. Their son eagerly greets him, followed by a sweet, loving smile from his wife. He's grateful to have his family by his side every day after work. Inside their room, the firefighter is already changing into his sleep clothes when his wife walks in. He's going to rest for a bit. He's utterly worn out. Meanwhile, over at Young T's house, they're all enjoying a hearty meal of delicious food prepared by Mom. The woman, who has practically adopted Chiel Wang as her own, urges everyone to get some rest. The younger one feels deeply grateful for the wonderful meal. He quietly wishes he had someone waiting for him at home and decides to call his parents. Elsewhere, a little cat is excitedly greeting her owner. The blonde woman gently pets her four-legged daughter. After a good, refreshing shower to wash off the lingering smoke scent, Mayo curls up on her lap, soaking in the affection. It's a sweet moment. Jai thanks her for always waiting for him at home, and it's hard to believe she's the same woman who used to fight all the time back at the academy. After a quick nap, young T is ready to head out. Chil Wang, still yawning and a little drowsy, answers, "His friend. They went for a run earlier, and after the first fire call, time seemed to fly. Before he knew it, he was back at the station for another 24-hour shift. He kept learning something new every day, whether it was in the field or on the computer. He had to figure out how to operate some strange new equipment, and of course, he gave it his all during their nighttime soccer games. Day after day, the routine continued, and before he even realized it, he'd already settled in. It was a regular day at the base, and autumn had already arrived, the first autumn he'd officially spent as a firefighter. The usually intimidating Hayo Jong had started teasing Chio Wang playfully, and the leader was trusting him more with responsibilities involving the station's equipment. The team had begun to feel like a family to him. He'd gotten used to almost everything, but there was one thing he could never get used to, no matter how many times he saw it: people leaving this world. Ho Jong was trying to revive a woman with everything he had, but her hand remained still. No sign of life. Still, he pushed on, while the others watched in silence. The woman's mother was devastated, crying out in horror as she called for her daughter. Young Tai gently pulled her aside, away from the body, to speak to her in private. The woman's pain was indescribable. Her chest ached, and the tears wouldn't stop. After she left with the firefighter, their teammate watched from the doorway. The leader eventually told Ho Jong to stop. There was nothing more they could do. The body was covered. It was always tragic when someone so young chose to leave this world. It seemed the young woman had been struggling with depression, work-related stress, and no one to confide in. By the time her mother found her, it was too late. Chio Wang stood quietly by, watching as young Tai spoke to the grieving woman on the staircase. Jin Sup joined him, saying he still hadn't gotten used to seeing things like this either. Firefighters, the hardest part is not getting used to saving lives. It's the times they can't. He hoped next time they'd be able to make it in time. For now, all they could do was pray. The body was taken away by the ambulance crew. Chio Wang didn't even know how to describe the feeling of watching a life slip away before his eyes. But then, he was back at the fire station, cheerfully asking the kids who they should call when there's a fire. The kids, shouting in off-key voices, chorus back, 119. He congratulates them on knowing exactly who to call. She pretends to be shocked as she draws their attention to something. Ji-hee is acting her part, pretending to feel unwell. The kids are confused, and he gestures for her to lie on the floor. Ji-hee continues to play her role perfectly, teaching the children about emergency situations. She throws herself dramatically to the ground in front of them, and after the performance, is praised while sipping a coffee from Soki. She wonders if this really helps the kids during an actual fire. Her leader explains how crucial it is to give children this kind of training. The blonde firefighter listens closely, and with a smile, he adds that the kids leave with not just knowledge, but a positive memory, one that might even inspire some of them to become firefighters someday. Ji-hee remembers the moment she collapsed during a cardiac arrest drill. The tiny humans were terrified, thinking she was truly unwell. She smiles, realizing how soft the kids have made her. But before she knows it, the leader catches her smile, even though she tried to hide it. All she wanted that day was to end her shift with a smile, the satisfaction of a job well done. However, the good feeling doesn't last long. Soon, the ambulance arrives, and with it, something that shatters that brief moment of peace. In her first audit since becoming a rescue firefighter, Ji-hee is slapped across the face by a drunk man while checking on him. For the first time in her life, she's been struck by a stranger. Her leader steps forward, demanding to know what the man is doing. The man, with his head bandaged, is clearly intoxicated. Ji-hee is in complete shock, and he tries to calm him down, but the man continues to be disrespectful, shouting and yanking her hair violently. A wave of anger surges through Ji-hee.
Without thinking, she grabs a bottle from the floor, raising it high, ready to throw it at the drunk man. Later, as the rescue team heads back to base, Chiel Wang and Young Ta hear her yelling. She's scolding Jihee for acting impulsively. Jihee's sulking and only apologize. The bottle doesn't hit the man. It falls to the ground and opens. He stops her just in time before something worse happens inside the ambulance. The consequences could have been disastrous. Complaints, lawsuits, and endless reports. It could have all gone wrong. The three men watch, stunned, as Jihee actually apologizes. Even though Chiel Wang wants to hear more, he's pulled away from the scene. Jihee lowers her head, explaining why she did what she did. The man had hurt her, disrespected them, and used violence against Sohee too. Yet they had to endure it all, even when attacked. As she speaks, Jai trembles, her tears falling from a mixture of rage and indignation. They were just there to help. Her leader doesn't know what to say. The two of them stand there, frozen for a while. Meanwhile, in the firefighter station's cafeteria, Chiel Wang is visibly upset. Young Ta explains the prank calls they keep getting while eating his meal. Chiel Wang still doesn't understand why people make prank calls to firefighters. Young Ta can only shrug and suggest maybe it's because firefighters aren't viewed as authority figures the way police are. Chiel Wang, still incredulous, insists something needs to be done about it, but Young Ta knows it's not that simple. They're already swamped with shifts, and finding the time for legal action would be nearly impossible. They can't even take a proper vacation. Handling more problems only adds to the exhaustion. That's the reality of being a firefighter today, and Chiel Wang still hasn't fully adjusted to it. For a moment, his mind drifts to Jihee, remembering when he saw her earlier. She'd seemed a little down, getting scolded and all. Later, the guys are saying their goodbyes and heading home. But now, another thought keeps circling in Chiel's mind. The image of that mother from the day before, crying after losing her daughter. He wonders if they'd arrived sooner, could they have saved her? The scene shifts. We see the cutest cat of all greeting Jihee at home. She picks up the cat, who meows happily in her arms, but Jihee leans against the wall, slides to the floor, and breaks down in tears. She just needs someone right now. Chiel Wang, after pausing to think for a moment, decides to go back. He tells Ye to head inside while his legs carry him straight to a store. Since their academy days, he's known one thing about Jihee. She's someone with many layers, like an onion. She's intense, unique, and uses anger to hide her fear of making mistakes. Beneath all that harshness is a vulnerable side, one that's afraid of getting hurt. At the store, he asks the clerk for a cassette tape that's displayed in the window. The next day at the fire station, Zoe walks in, complaining about neck pain. Must be age, she jokes. Just as she's about to enter a room, she notices a firefighter from another team doing something inside. Chiel Wang, trying to play it cool, feels nervous about getting caught. Later, Jihee stands in front of a small bag on the table, unsure of what's inside. Curiously, she asks the captain about it. Zoe, smiling widely, tells her to go to the break area and find out for herself. When Jihee opens the bag, she finds a cassette player. She unwraps everything, carefully pops the tape into the player, and plugs in the headphones. As she listens, she recognizes the song. It's the same one. Chiel Wang sang at their first team dinner, but she has no idea why he gave it to her. She starts reading the sweet note that's tucked inside. Chiel Wang writes that he wanted to share the song with her, but since she'd been grumpy, she deserved to hear it first. Adorable. As she reads on, she notices that he mentions his birthday is on August 20th. A smile spreads across Jihee's face. It's a small thing, but it makes her day a little brighter, a little lighter. Chiel Wang has learned something valuable as a firefighter. Sometimes people's hearts are crying out for help too. And to answer those silent calls, all it takes is a genuine, kind gesture. Jihee, now wearing her headphones again, is listening to the song Chiel gave her, this time on the bus.
Everyone has their own way of helping others, a warm greeting, working hard to make loved ones happy, or even a simple act of kindness from a good friend. And Jihee knows that these things come in many forms. They might seem small, but they can make a huge difference in someone's life. On a new emergency call, the rescue team is dealing with a beehive. For Chil Wong, this feels like his moment, the moment when his actions will truly help someone on the job. The bees are taken down, curled up in a fetal position on the ground. The homeowner thanks them for their excellent service, relieved and grateful to have the bees removed. She even thanks them again with a big smile, mentioning how terrified she was of those giant bees. That simple thank you fills Chil with pride and boosts his confidence. As the leader asks him why he's grinning, Yang Ti explains that Chil's just happy he did a good job. When they get off the truck and head to the break room, something catches their eye. 2 bags and a soda bottle sitting on the table. To their surprise, Jin-Sup's wife appears, announcing that the food is for the team. She's cheerful, looking effortlessly stylish. The guys, still dressed like carrots in their fire gear, can't help
shout their thanks and appreciation for the meal. Chil Wong hadn't had the chance to meet her before, but the captain introduces her as she happily waves. As the guys eagerly rip into the lunchboxes, they're greeted by fried chicken, lots of it. They dive in, eating heartily, but it's not as good as they expected. The chicken is greasy, and they're all pretending it's amazing while the captain watches them. Only the captain is married, and she happens to be nearby to visit him at work. The two seem genuinely happy, and their love for each other is evident. Chil Wong wonders, quietly to himself, if he'll ever be able to build a family like that one day. The guys call over the rest of the team to help finish the chicken. As the woman prepares to leave, Goop kindly tells her he'll see her at home later. He leaves her there alone, saying he'll eat when he gets back. She sighs, her silky hair swaying with the movement of her head. Feeding this many men the right way isn't as easy as it looks. Looking around at the old, worn-down space, she frowns. The pillow is so bad that they've had to place a towel over it just to keep using it. She figures her husband must be laying his head on that pillow too. As she turns to leave, she bumps into another firefighter. He's startled, a little nervous, and tries to walk away, but she grabs him, halting him in place. With a spine-chilling voice, she calls him over for a talk. Elsewhere, on the other side of the city, an elderly lady, shrunk quite a bit with age, scolds someone for being late. Yong Tai greets his grandmother with a warm smile. Apparently, the house's door lock broke and she called the firefighters instead of a locksmith. Yong Tai explains that if they open the door their way, it could cause damage. Of course, the tiny old woman is having none of that. She insists they do the job carefully, so he has no choice but to try his best. After the issue is resolved, they chat while heading back to the truck. The leader cracks a joke about non-emergency service calls. Chil Wong worries that calls like these might prevent people who truly need help from getting it. He asks if they could somehow assess the urgency of a call before responding. The leader nods, saying maybe, but they shouldn't always think that way. It's important to help those who truly need it, but if they approach every call with skepticism, they'll lose the sincerity of the job. Every call must be treated as an emergency. Otherwise, they might overlook someone who really needs their help. Chil Wong hadn't thought of it that way. Now he reflects on the leader's words. Just then, a voice crackles over the radio. A fire's breaking out nearby. Without missing a beat, the truck changes course, heading straight for the emergency. The leader calls out to the rookie, asking, "What did I just teach you?" Chil Wong responds, "Always treat every call as an emergency and give it your all." With that, they begin preparing for the fire ahead. The fire's location is a large warehouse, and another firefighter team is already there. Jin-Sup introduces his team and gets a quick rundown on the situation. The water they're spraying isn't hitting the source of the fire, and the insulation panels are burning. They'll have to tear them off to stop the flames. They grab a piece of equipment that looks like a saw, then place a ladder to climb up and deal with it. Yang Ta starts to climb, determined to take care of it themselves. Back at the base office, a man
Won sits with Dosun, having a quiet chat. She asks about his wife, and he answers that she's doing well. Then he asks how Dosun is doing. She's not doing great. Her son is about to start elementary school, and her glare is icy enough to freeze anyone in place.
Nervous in her presence, he tries to push her out of his office, but she stands her ground, reminding him of the promise he made to let the leader take charge when her son started school. He argues back, insisting that they don't have enough firefighters to handle the job, and without Jin-sup there, the entire rescue team would be stretched too thin. But she counters with another point, and he shoots back a response. Dosun's patience is starting to wear thin. She's not backing down, but neither is he. He defends himself, saying how much he supported her husband since he became an officer. That's when she drops the bombshell. He was the one who convinced Jin-sup to join the rescue team in the first place. The officer asks her not to phrase it that way, explaining that if he hadn't pushed for his friend to join the team, the two of them never would have met. Dosun pauses, feeling the weight of his words. Meanwhile, back at the warehouse, several firefighters are already on the roof, ready to begin the operation. They quickly pair up, preparing to work together through the mission. The saw roars to life as it cuts through the roof's surface, with Young Tung following orders carefully, turning over debris in search of the fire's source. Below, Chil Wang watches, focused and tense. The height is dizzying, and there's already a thick layer of water sprayed from earlier that only adds to the risk. One wrong move and they could slip. One slip and it could be fatal. A colleague shouts his attention, urging him not to stand still, and hands him a rope. They'll tie knots into it for extra safety as they prepare for what could be a long, dangerous stretch of work. Back at the base, Dosun bumps into So and Ji-hee in the hallway. As they chat, we learn that So is Ji-hee's older brother. He introduces the blonde woman to Jin-sup's wife as the new paramedic. Ji-hee greets her with a polite formality, but Dosun is all smiles, waving her over with a friendly gesture. The conversation takes an unexpected turn when Soe jokingly asks if the ladies are going out on a date with someone. Dosun finds it odd, and the topic quickly shifts. The other woman mentions that Ji-hee's friend always said she didn't want to get married, then jokingly suggests someone from the rescue team. Soe sticks out her tongue at her and flatly rejects the idea, causing Dosun to laugh. Dosun teases that Ji-hee can't afford to be picky, but she shoots back with a look of indignation. "I don't want to constantly worry about someone," she says, her voice laced with frustration. The conversation pauses as Ji-hee stops in her tracks, deep in thought. The leader, still talking, notices her concern and pauses as well. Dosun, crouched down with her face covered in her hands, seems to carry the weight of her words. At the warehouse, the rope is finally thrown up to the firefighters working on the roof. Hyo-jong, from the ground, informs the captain about the safety rope he set up for them. The leader thanks him and gestures for the team to secure the rope to their belts, ensuring their safety if things go wrong. Descending the stairs, Hyo-jong asks Chio-wang to list the materials inside the factory. The roof material is dangerous in their current situation. Finally, after what seems like an eternity, one of the firefighters locates the source of the flames and alerts the leader. It's been faster than expected, so the other team can start spraying water. But as the firefighter moves, he steps on a weak spot in the roof. The next moment, the roof gives way, and he plummets through, unable to hold on. Jin-sup screams his name, panic in his voice, as he watches his teammate fall. We skip ahead 6 years to a coffee shop. Dosun, with short hair and a more serious expression, sits across from her friend. She's clearly frustrated about something, talking about watching her mom suffer. Dosun responds, telling her that all the guys her friend ever set her up with were nothing but snobby jerks. Still teasing, the friend presses her on what kind of man she likes, and Dosun pauses, thinking. Slowly, she starts listing the qualities of the man she dreams of meeting, but before she can finish, a man approaches and introduces himself as Jin-sup, only he's younger, more energetic, and still impossibly handsome. Dosun is taken aback,
Back in the present, the crowbar falls from the firefighter's grip as the knots they tied on his safety rope hold steady. The firefighter swings about the flames, the heat rising beneath him. The leader approaches, calling out to him in concern. Thankfully, the firefighter seems unharmed. He breathes a sigh of relief and calls for the truck to be moved closer to the building. For Chil Wong, it's the first time he's seen the leader look so visibly uneasy. 6 years earlier, Dosun asks if Jin Sup is a paramedic. He confirms it with a simple yes, and for a moment, Dosun is at a loss for words. Everything she thought she knew about him shifts in that instant. She remembers hearing stories about the rescue team, how dangerous the job could be. But Jin Sup doesn't intimidate her. He's not like the others. Despite his background as a former soldier, he's calm and confident. She still thinks he'll head home early, just like all the others. But when they went for a walk after dinner, Dosun was surprised. She had no expectations. She figured he'd start bragging about his wealth or some random hobby. And yet, his stories were different. They weren't about bragging. They were honest and grounded. In that moment, Doso saw something in Jin Sup that made her feel something she hadn't in a long time. A deep connection, a certainty that he was someone who knew exactly what he wanted in life. Back at the base, after the fire is under control and the team is recovering, the officer is speechless when the firefighter who fell explains what happened. It turns out he broke one of his ribs, but fortunately, no cast is needed. The doctor orders rest. Officer, with the firm tone, tells him to take it easy for a while. Later, the officer walks to speak with the leader, Jin Sup. Dosun is nowhere to be seen, but the atmosphere is tense. Soy, joking earlier, asks about Dosun's emotional state. The leader expresses concern, saying she never intended to upset Dosun that much. I didn't mean to make her cry, Soy apologizes sincerely. Jin Sup, his mind elsewhere, is preoccupied with his wife's emotional state. The officer calls Jin Sup over, and with a quiet, reflective tone, he admits that she brought up the subject of dating a paramedic once again. The leader mutters to himself, knowing that while he can save lives, he still struggles to save his wife's heart. The scene shifts again, this time to a more tender memory. Dosun and Jin Sup are dating, and she never imagined she'd fall for a firefighter. His good build, sharp nose, and those little things about him, those features that she couldn't help but notice, made her blush every time. But when the crash happened, everything shifted. A truck skidding out of control, the brakes slammed desperately, and Dosun froze in shock. Jin Sup, ever alert, jumped into action, ignoring the danger. He sprinted toward the wrecked vehicle, pushing through the chaos to pull the injured man out. Dosun watched from a distance, in awe of his determination. Right then, she knew exactly the kind of man he was, and that was the moment she truly fell for him. She knew without a doubt she wanted to be that man's wife. Back at the base, Ji-hee was explaining to Chil Wong what had happened. The man was already worried about the leader's wife. They stood by the door of the leader's office, listening in and watching him inside. Jin Sup was staring at something on the computer, but his eyes didn't look focused. An officer placed a hand on his shoulder and asked if he wanted to take the rest of the day off. The leader shook his head, saying his place was right here at the fire station. Now we get why she went to the officer. Her husband is so stubborn. The officer only warned him not to regret this later. Then the scene shifts to a day that was anything but ordinary. The wedding of Dosun and Jin Sup. She loved him more than anyone else ever could, and they promised each other forever, until their bones turned to dust. Soon after, they had a precious baby, their beloved son. But because she loved him so deeply, she ended up carrying a lot on her own. In another room, Yong-Ti was tinkering with some equipment while chatting with Chil Wong and Ji-hee. He mentioned that when the leader's son was born, he was on duty, and he never shuts up about it when he's drunk. A guy working shifts like ours can't really be a good husband, he said. Chil Wong had never really thought about how much the job could strain a relationship. Ji-hee suddenly had an idea. She suggested recruiting more people to ease the workload. Yong-Ti shook his head. it wasn't that simple. Politics and red tape always got in the way. They kept requesting more hires, but the costs were too high, so nothing ever got approved. Still, Yongti's optimism was surprising. He kept hoping they'd eventually get better conditions. Even Chil Wong thought he was a little too hopeful sometimes. Yontae asked Ji-hee why she was even there. She said she was just passing through, but added it would be great if they could bring in more help. That way, Dosun wouldn't worry so much. Chil Wong couldn't help but feel concerned about the leader, too. His wife didn't look well either. Ji-hee stayed positive, saying she believed things would turn around for them. Earlier that day, when she saw Dosun crying and then pulling herself together, she realized something about that woman. Dosun truly cared for her husband, the leader Jin-sup. By the end of the day, the guys were in the locker room, changing and saying their goodbyes. Jin-sup was lost in thought, reflecting on everything. At home, his little boy came running, calling out for him. Jin-sup knelt down, hugging his son tightly, grateful for that kind of welcome. His wife greeted him too and called him in for breakfast. He complimented her cooking. She said she made it just the way his mother taught her. Then he called her name, and she thought he wanted more food, so she offered him another plate. But Jin-sup began talking about how hard things must be for her, handling everything alone. They were getting older, and their son was growing up fast, yet she never complained. With a heavy heart, he apologized for not being a better husband to Dosun. Fighting back tears, she started to speak. Back when they were dating, she thought he was incredible. His life seemed so clear, so full of purpose. The way he jumped in to save that man, it was bold and fearless. That was the moment she fell completely in love with Jin-sup. But now, as a mother, she feels selfish. Every time she hears about a firefighter who doesn't make it home, she wonders if it could be him. When the siren blares, she can't sleep until he walks back through the door. She used to admire his sense of duty, but now it terrifies her. Could her husband seem any less heroic now? She hates feeling this scared all the time. The dishes sit in the sink, gloves tossed aside. Jin-sup stands and wraps his arms around her. They hold each other close, letting the weight of the day melt away. The next shift, most of the guys were crowded around something, looking amazed. Officer walked over, asking what was going on. When they waved him closer, even he was surprised at what he saw. Leader Jin-sup was holding a cell phone in his left hand. He said his wife wanted to talk more often, so they decided to stay connected by phone. Someone asked how much it cost. Jin-sup said, $65,000. Every bit of their emergency savings had gone into it. But Dosun, who used to be so anxious, was now overjoyed that she could hear his voice anytime, anywhere. He walked off dialing, ready to call his wife. Young T turned to Chil Wong, asking if he saw what he just saw. Then he told the younger guy to make sure he falls in love someday, because love like that is something special. Love might be the biggest risk in this job, but it's also the greatest strength. Back at home, Dosun sat at the table, smiling as her husband's call came through. Later that day, Yang Ti went to talk to Jin-sup. The focused, glasses-wearing guy didn't even look up when he replied. Yang Ti asked what the leader was doing over the weekend. He said he'd be with his family, just like Yang expected. So he tried asking another colleague, but he brushed him off too. Then another one, same answer. Everyone was busy with their girlfriends. Frustrated, Yang Ti clenched his jaw and held it in. The next day, Saturday, he looked downright annoyed. He just wanted to hang out with the guys, but apparently everyone had a girlfriend except him and Hyojong. Chil Wong was confused when he heard that. He didn't have a girlfriend either. Yang Ti calls him an idiot, and Ji-hee overheard while pretending not to listen. She teased them about Hyojong not having a girlfriend. Yang Ti mocked him, mimicking how he said he didn't want a relationship right now. Totally dramatic. Chil Wong told them to just go eat the grilled meat Yang Ti loved, and Yang lit up immediately. He ran ahead of the group, only to bump into someone on the street. He froze when he saw who it was. No way! Holding hands with a girl? Was him. Ho Jong, the same guy who said he wasn't interested in relationships right now. And just like Chief Jin-sup, he was also a former Special Forces member.